Hello FACS students, we are on our last cookie recipe number 5, which is Snickerdoodles. We're going to start out by adding either some butter or some margarine to our mixer. It asks us to mix this now to soften that up. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this up, soften it. Now this one's just like the molasses cookie where you add half the flour in at the beginning and then half the flour in at the end. It asks for 1.5 cups of flour. So half of 1.5 cups is 3/4. I actually have a 3/4 measuring cup right here. I'm going to start out with my fork, fluffing my flour. If you don't have a 3/4 measuring cup, you can do 1/2 cup and 1/4 of a cup, or you can do 3/4 of a cup. I've got 1 cup that'll take care of it all, so I'm going to spoon that in, overfill, level off my flour, and put it in there. I'll come back to that later and add another 3/4 of a cup. Then I'm going to add my 1 cup of sugar. The reason I add that flour is because it's going to slow that melting process down. We want our sugar to turn into a liquid, but with Snickerdoodles we want to slow that down a little. So we've added flour to help slow that process down. We're going to incorporate the butter, the flour, and the sugar. Then, once I get that incorporated in, I'm going to add my egg. Take a look at this. It's a little bit different than what we've seen the other ones. It's more of a powdery substance. That'll change once I add my egg to it. So I'm going to crack my egg into the bowl, making sure before I pour it in that there's no egg shells. So I've added my egg. I'm going to go ahead and add my 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, my 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder, and then a new ingredient, cream of tartar. It acts as a rising agent with the baking soda. So I'm going to add 1/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar. I'm going to go ahead and mix that, combine that together. That should get to be more of a doughy looking batter, and then we'll add that second 3/4 cup of flour. So now that I've given it a good mix, it's a very wet looking cookie batter. If I tried to play with my hands in that, it would stick all over. Now we're gonna go ahead and add that second 3/4 cup of flour, and that'll take it to a cookie dough that I can work with. So I'm going to overfill my measuring cup, level it off, put it in, and then we'll give it another good mix. All right, let's check our dough out. See how it's sticking to me? That tells me that it needs a little bit more flour. So I'm gonna add just a little bit more flour. Remember, I can always add more, so don't go crazy if you get a sticky dough and add a whole 1/4 cup more or a 1/2 cup more. Add a little bit, mix it, see if it's still sticky. If it is, add more. If it's not, you have a perfect cookie dough. So I've mixed it up. Now I'm going to test it to see if my cookie dough is ready. I'm going to take it, squeeze it. If it comes out of my hand, that means that it's a good cookie dough. If I would have squeezed it and it had stuck, that would mean it needs more flour. If it hadn't stayed together, it would mean I put too much flour in. Now that my batter's all ready, I'm gonna go ahead and finish making my Snickerdoodle cookies. The thing with Snickerdoodle cookies that you guys make mistakes on is that you don't read that recipe all the way through. The last two ingredients are sugar and cinnamon. That's 2 different times that sugar's in the recipe. That's because you need sugar in your cookie dough. You need to roll your Snickerdoodle in sugar and cinnamon. Can't tell you how many times I've had students that have added that last 2 tablespoons of sugar and teaspoon of cinnamon into the cookie dough. It doesn't work that way. All right, I'm gonna take my cookie scoop. I'm gonna scoop a cookie, roll it in the sugar and cinnamon, and then put it onto the pan. I'm gonna do a 3x4 array, which is 12 cookies on a cookie sheet. That way, so that when the cookies bake, they don't smash into each other and I get a beautifully round cookie. Also a reminder, we do not put in 2 pans of cookies in the oven at a time. We only put 1 pan of cookies in. We do not own those commercial ovens that are made to cook multiple cookie sheets at the same time. So now that I've got my cookies rolled in balls and rolled in the sugar and cinnamon, I'm gonna go put them in the oven. It's a 375 temperature. It says 10 to 11 minutes, so we're gonna go with 10. Back in 10. We're back after 10 minutes. We're gonna pull these cookies out and check them out. Okay, now right now they look just a little bit soft, but I'm gonna do that little funky thing. I'm gonna drop them. I'm gonna let them sit for 3 or 4 minutes on that hot pan, let them cool off a little, and then I'll transfer them from the pan to the cooling rack. All right, they've cooled for a couple of minutes. We're gonna put them on that cooling rack to finish up their cooling, but of course, we've got to try them out. Love a good Snickerdoodle. Bon appetit.